All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm Brother Doug, as always. My mom, Sister Sharon's with me. We got Brother Dennis, Sister Marissa, Brother YHUH. So today we are going to be doing an interesting study called The Word of Yahuwah, Your Aluah, Your Elohim, or Our Elohim. You'll see that phrase in the Targums a lot, where in the Torah, the normal Torah, like the Masoretic Septuagint, which is more literal, word for word, will say Yahuwah, Your Elohim. So the reason I'm going through this is to show why the Targums are kind of important, because they show that John in John 1:1 was not making this stuff up. He was not like creating a whole new Christian religion, as some people want to claim. Some people will tell you that Constantine created the fullness of the supreme being as Messiah, that Constantine created what they call today, and I don't even like this term, but what Christianity will use as the deity of Christ or whatever. Okay, some people in this walk want to claim that Constantine did that. Okay, again, when you start confusing the Trinity with the oneness, that's where the problem is. Okay, and again, you guys, if you want to, you can check this for yourself in the intertestamental period. This is not the title I would have used for this oneness belief system, but the early rabbis from about 1st century AD up until like the 4th, 5th century, or maybe not 4th, 5th century, but from the intertestamental period to the up until, I should say, 2nd century AD is when it started getting rejected, and they changed their theology and called it heresy. There was something they in their own tradition called the two powers in heaven. Okay, basically it was like you had Yahuwah 1, Yahuwah 2. Okay, you had the Yahuwah who is just spirit, who is the Almighty, the Father, who's all powerful, but he's only spirit. Then you had the other Yahuwah who was Yahuwah himself in a physical bodily form that was always sent to earth. And you'll see that this was very, very obvious in their own tradition. I'll just go to one verse here before we get the study going, just to prove to you that this is something in their own traditions. You can find this concept in any version of the Torah, by the way, in Genesis. Okay, it's Genesis 19. This is when Yahuwah rains down on Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, but you're going to notice something interesting here. It seems like it's saying there's two Yahuwahs. Okay, so we go to Genesis 19. I think it's 24 is actually where the Targum has Dabar, Yahuwah mentioned. Now, Mom, could you read 21 for me? Because I think this
sure.
Jerusalem one is missing verse 21. So I'll read the verse 24 in my Jerusalem one.
All right, so 19, 21 to 24?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. He said to them, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." By the time Lot reached Zor, the sun had risen over the land.
That's verse 21?
That's 23. I started at 21. He said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request."
Interesting. I'm thinking of another verse. Hold on a second.
Okay.
It should say, Yahuwah rained down on Sodom and Gomorrah from Yahuwah in heaven. That's the verse I'm looking for. Okay. So that's because that's the actual oneness verse I'm looking for there.
Okay.
And basically you have a Yahuwah in heaven on his throne, while there's a Yahuwah on the earth. So let's see here. It might be later on.
I think it is later
verse
on.
24. Okay, so it is verse 24.
Oh, okay, 24.
So I'll read first the Septuagint version. It says, "And Yahuwah rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from Yahuwah out of heaven." Now, what I find interesting is when you go to the Jerusalem Targum version of that same verse, it says, "And the word of Yahuwah himself had descended upon the people in Sodom and Gomorrah to shower favor on them that they might work repentance from their wicked works." So initially trying to give them one last chance to repent is the commentary here. But when they saw the showers of favor, they said, "So our wicked works are not manifested before him," so hiding their sin. "He turned then and caused to descend upon them bitumen and fire."
Where did he go?
Mhm.
He's frozen. His Wi-Fi is
Yes, sir.
down.
Yep.
Bruh, Wi-Fi and the signal just do not like Doug. As long as I've known him, he's always had a bad service signal.
I know. It's a constant. Hey, brother Joshua, where are you right now? Are you in New Mexico or are you in Colorado?
I'm still in Hobbs, New Mexico. Um, I'm really not that far from Colorado. It's just that I'm kind of stuck in the desert right now.
Are
I
you
was
coming out? Are you coming out to California at all?
um I have plans to after Colorado, but I won't say yes or no, because I aim for Colorado, but I mean you could end up sending me like elsewhere. But yeah, after Colorado, I really want to go up towards past through California and then maybe stay like Northern California, close to Oregon area for a while.
Oh. Oh, okay. Yeah,
Like the redwood.
Oregon is not, well, depending on where in Oregon, because Portland is just not a safe place right now. There's a lot going on over there.
Yeah, no, I just want to be up there just because it's really nice weather up near like the redwoods area.
Oh, yeah, I would love to visit that one day.
It's
Yeah,
nice.
it's
I
nice.
want to
How's the
go.
dog? How's the dog hanging?
He's
How's the
good.
dog doing with the traveling and all that stuff?
He's definitely adjusting, and then I'm adjusting on how to best best help her adjust in the sense that just keeping a routine going. Like at the end of the day, like I walk her at the beginning of the day, I walk her, play with
Mhm.
her. So she's got a constant routine going down even more. Here, that's
And
helped her adjust.
what are you feeding her? Just regular dog food?
No, no, no. I give her half a chicken early in the day, and then half a chicken uh, in the evening, like a whole chicken.
Oh,
Um,
really? With the not with the bones or anything, right?
not with the bones, except for the bones that she can eat. Like, and I know I've heard that you're not supposed to give them the bones, but she eats them just fine. And I knew a pastor that would always give bones to the dog, but it's only certain types of bones. There's like one bone in there that it bends, and so they can't break it, and it can get stuck in their throat.
Yeah, what
Um,
bone is that?
it's attached to the leg. Um, when
Oh,
you
yeah. Uh-huh.
uh,
But
real sharp.
what about the breastbone? Breastbone
Yeah,
has like,
that's one that gets to her either the breast and around the neck because that's all kind of sharp and jagged.
yeah.
I just give her the bones, like maybe like the leg bone, and then like anything that's kind of like got cartilage around it. It's
Mm-hmm.
really
Oh, that's good. Wow, dog is really down. He's normally not down this long. Oh, this is the first time that they've had some issues, though. I mean, in a while, anyhow. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's
I think for me with the whole Dabar YHUH, when I looked into the text and I saw that there's nowhere that it actually says the word of Yahuwah, it literally says or I'm sorry, the word Yahuwah. There's no of. It's just simply the word Yahuwah. So for
what
me,
version?
every version, well, English would translate it to the word of, but when you look in the Hebrew or even in the Greek, there's no of there.
Oh, so that's been included.
Yeah, it's added by the translator.
Is it italicized or no?
Um,
It should be if it was included.
yeah, but not all the time do they italicize stuff. I know that, like, that's what I used to believe when I was like only reading King James. They would tell you that the things that are added are italicized, but not
Right.
every translation does that.
Well, I didn't know that. I thought whenever you saw italicized that it meant that it was added. So then there could be stuff that's added that you wouldn't know was added. Unless you read like 100 books, right?
Yeah,
Because
Doug, Master
how would you?
Chief, uh, I'm sorry, say that again.
Oh, what happened to your friend? He didn't get on today.
I didn't wait. Say that again.
What's his name? Your friend that was on last week?
Oh, Zaya. I'm not sure where he's at.
What's his
I know
name?
he. I know Sasaya.
Okay.
I know he also visits other places. He
Oh,
was it was just him and his dad for a while. They weren't gathered with anyone other than just the two of them.
oh,
And
nice.
then dad passed away cancer about 2 years ago, and
So,
he just barely started venturing out and kind of gathering with different people. But
so
he's like
who brought who to Torah? His dad brought him, or he brought his dad?
his dad brought him.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
They were both in Christianity, but his dad was the first one to come to Yahuwah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's very blessed to have a dad that did that for him. Because doesn't the Bible say that the fathers are to teach the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wonder whatever happened to Doug.
His hotspot died.
Oh my goodness, I'm sure he's stressing.
Hmm.
Cussing at Zoom, cussing at the computer, wondering what is going on. And that was a live, he was already live on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Well, no, he just recorded. Oh, he's not live. Everything is just
Ah,
being recorded, which I mean, technically, he could probably, if he sent me the video, I could probably um, edit out all this.
he's gonna have to because he's going on what, 5 minutes now? And he hasn't gotten on, and he hasn't tried calling anyone to tell anyone what's going on.
No, he messaged me. He messaged the Awakened by Yahuwah channel, or the Signal or
On
Telegram.
LinkedIn.
Sorry. Yeah, he said his hotspot died.
Oh, do you use Signal?
I do use Signal to connect with some of the Yahusha students up in Pennsylvania, Ohio area.
Oh, really? Signal is what, like Telegram?
Kind of like Telegram, yeah.
Yeah, there was something going on with the guy that owns Telegram. He's being sued, or I don't know.
Oh,
They're trying to shut him down. You know how that is. Yeah, they're trying to shut him down. I heard something about that, I think about a week or so ago. Because he's Russian, and I guess, I don't know if it's Trump or who it is. They're trying to shut him down or close him down, or I don't know. They've been trying to do that for a few years now. I knew that it was a Russian connection, but I'm not sure like what's going on with that. So, okay, so then I guess we should just log out and log back in when he's ready.
Yeah, I guess you could do that too. I'm just gonna stay on because he probably shouldn't be gone too
Man,
long. I think.
he's been gone now over five over 5 minutes. Over 5 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna log off and log back in.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll reach out when he's on.
Okay.
All right, so ooh, what's going on over there, Dennis?
Oh, nothing much. Hmm. Just relaxing.
Yeah, same here. I'm up sitting up at the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Or
How
I don't know.
warm is it there?
Uh, it's only in the 80s today, but it still feels hot.
Oh yeah.
Desert heat. It was like up to like 98, I think, or 96 yesterday, but
Yeah, that's when you want to find shade.
yeah, we're sitting under a pavilion at the park, so it's not bad.
That's good. Yeah, it's about 82 here.
Dry or humid?
It's pretty dry actually. About less than 50%, about 49% humidity today.
I'm not sure what it is over here, but it's definitely some type of dry.
Oh yeah.
I noticed the difference the second day I was here, and my nose was starting to bleed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dry air.
Yeah.
Hmm.
How's Shoshana doing?
She's doing pretty good. She's got some people that are helping her with her diabetes.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure she eats right, so that helps.
Yeah, sometimes this flesh just wants what it wants. It takes some nice time, some accountability.
Yeah, it takes a little discipline. Yeah, and all the manufacturers of food, they cater to the flesh, make sure it tastes ultra better than it should. Especially if it's not good for you.
Yeah, even with food that's good for you, I think that I definitely have a weakness for food to where I could definitely save a little bit more and spend a little bit less. That
Mhm.
definitely goes to good food. At least it's not drugs or something else, but still.
Yeah. Well, it's so hard to get anything from the store that has nutrition in it. That's the big problem. They keep growing stuff in soil that's worn out. They won't let the land rest. And
Yeah.
and then a lot of the stuff that's supposed to be organic, well, it might be organic, but they grow it in soil with fluoride.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely very hard to get anything clean and anything nutritious. I mean, I'm eating mostly a vegan diet right now, but um, with that you got to supplement like with a protein source and with a multivitamin,
Yeah.
and then if
Mm-hmm.
you're eating meat, then like because I was doing carnivore for a while, but even with that, you're paying an arm and a leg to get organic grass fed.
Yep. Yep. And if you take vitamins, then you have to find water with minerals in it to metabolize the vitamins.
Yeah, I normally get some concentrates and I put it in my distilled water, make my own
Yeah.
mineral water. But then that
Mm-hmm.
becomes a lot too. Like I spend like $10 on a bottle of concentrates, minerals. That'll last me like maybe about a month. And then buying gallons of
Wow.
distilled water, um, it'd be way cheaper just to buy bottles, like a bunch of bottled water. But then, you're not really getting water because it's not really hydrating you.
Yeah. And you're getting the poisonous plastics from the jars.
So,
Shabbat. Hey, shalom, guys. Sorry about that. My Zoom had to update. Uh, I couldn't get back even on here. Our hotspot died. I had to go on my mom's phone for hotspot. So a bunch of technological difficulties here. So trying to remember here where we were
Sounds like
at. So Genesis.
sounds like a rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure does, brother.
Genesis 9,
Sure
1924.
does.
So, like I said before here, the Jerusalem Targum paraphrases Yahuwah as the word of Yahuwah, and it talks about that the word of Yahuwah is the one burning on Sodom and Gomorrah, basically, from Yahuwah in heaven. Okay, so that's like basic where we get the concept of there's a Yahuwah in heaven and a Yahuwah on earth simultaneously. And the authors of the Targums in the intertestamental time period coined the phrase the basically two powers in heaven. Even though we don't necessarily agree with that terminology, that's basically what they called the oneness belief back then, and in the intertestamental time period. So let me see here. So let me just get on the document here. I apologize for our viewers here. That was my bad. I don't know why I had such an issue here. Let me see here. Our Wi-Fi today has been very weird too. It's very weird just to even I was trying to get it on the computer while that was happening and it was not working. Like Microsoft, I don't know if the Microsoft browser, Microsoft Edge has to do an update too, because it seems like when I try to search something, nothing's happening. So it's been a weird day. It's been a really weird day so far. So let me just see here. Why don't I have the Docs app? This is weird. Okay. Hold on a second. Docs. Jeez, everything got to be updated today? All right. While that's updating, Deuteronomy 4:34 is the next one where we have Yahuwah being paraphrased as the word of Yahuwah here. It says here in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 34, what is the people or kingdom that has heard, or the signs which Dabar Yahuwah has worked, the word of Yahuwah has worked, coming to announce that he would separate to himself a people from among the people. So in the Masoretic and Septuagint versions, it would say Yahuwah would separate a people from within a people to himself, right? But the Jerusalem Targum here says the word of Yahuwah is separating a people to himself. So unless they're the same person, you got an issue. Because then you would have someone impersonating Yahuwah, drawing Yahuwah's people to himself. And that's really the conundrum that you come by when those that are against the oneness belief try to reconcile the new covenant and try to say, well, the son now is the groom. Well, that doesn't work. You can't have someone other than the father have his bride. So it's the same thing here in Deuteronomy 4:34. So that's just something to think about there. So let me see here. Let me go to, I think the next one is in Deuteronomy 5. What I might have to do is put change targums here, because the Jerusalem is great, guys, but it tends to have a lot of omitted verses because it's very fragmented, the Jerusalem Targum. So let me see here. Deuteronomy 5. I'm reading the Unkalos here. Okay, so let me just open up that docs here so I know where we're supposed to be at. Okay, we did that, did that. Okay, here we go. The word of YHUH, your Aluah. Okay. And actually, you know what? We were supposed to start in Exodus. That's my fault. I actually had it in order here. All right, so let's start. Where's the earliest one? Okay, so Pseudo Jonathan, which is mistakenly called the Targum of Jonathan, even though it's not. It's another Targum called the Pseudo Jonathan. I have here in chapter 15 of Exodus. So 15 in Exodus, verse 26. Here's one here, and it says, and said, if you will truly hearken to Dabar YHUH, your Aluah, and do which is right before him, and will listen to his precepts, keep all his statutes, all those evil things that I laid upon the Egyptians, I will not lay upon you. But if you will transgress against the word of the law, interesting, little commentary there, the law, upon you shall they be sent. If you convert, I will remove them from you, for I am YHUH, your helper. And that's another thing too. You have the word of YHUH speaking here, and he's calling himself YHUH, your helper. So again, if the word of YHUH and YHUH are not supposed to be the same person, then you have an issue there. Okay? Because clearly he's talking as if he's YHUH. Okay? Then you have, let's see here, Exodus 20, verse 1, flipping back to the Jerusalem Targum. This is the, official chapter where you have the Ten Commandments, okay, being given. This is the marriage covenant at Sinai. Okay, it says here in Exodus 20, right? Okay. Verse 1. And the word of YHUH, Dabar YHUH, spoke all the excellency of these words, saying. So what is that saying? That's saying Yahusha is the husband. Dabar YHUH, the word of YHUH, is the husband. He's the one giving them the commandments, the Torah. He's the one administering the Mosaic law. So, if he's not the father, you got an issue there. So, this is interesting to me, and this is, again, is from the very fragmented Jerusalem Targum. So, let me see if there's any other verses here. So, this is interesting. Verse 22 here in the same chapter. It says, in every place in which you shall memorize my set-apart name. So, memorize is a little bit of commentary there. My word shall be revealed to you, and barak you. But if you make an altar of stones unto my name, you shall not build it with sculptured stones. So this is talking about making commandments about making an altar to YHUH, and not to, we know the famous commandment about you don't make cut stones as an altar, all that. So, but it's saying here that my word shall be revealed to you. So the word of YHUH, the person, shall be revealed to them. So to me, that's very interesting. and that's Exodus 20:22. So, and again, like I said, you guys, you don't have to pay attention to the commentary, but it is important to pay attention to how these Targums, these Aramaic versions of the Torah, are paraphrasing Yahuwah as his word. They are equating the Father as the word of Yahuwah. That's the important part. That's not commentary. They are actually translating it as the word of Yahuwah. So, anyway. So we did Exodus 20. Verse 7 I had as well in the Pseudo-Jonathan. So let me go to the Pseudo-Jonathan of that same chapter in Exodus 20, verse 7 as well. Okay. So again, the focus of this study is to show that in this intertestamental time period, they understood way before Yahusha came to earth that the person known as Dabar Yahuwah was their Elohim. He was not lesser. He was not just a messenger. Dabar Yahuwah was Yahuwah, was equal to Yahuwah, was Yahuwah himself. Exodus 20, verse 7 from the Pseudo-Jonathan Targum says, "My people of the house of Yasharal, let not one of you swear by the name of the word of Yahuwah, your Aluah, in vain. For in the day of the great judgment, Yahuwah will not hold guiltless anyone who swears by his name in vain." So Yahuwah is calling the name Dabar Yahuwah his name. Now, can someone have Yahuwah's name, which also includes character and personality and everything, and be another person from him? I don't know. I mean, some people might claim John 5:43 would claim that, but Yahusha doesn't say my name is my Father's name. He says I came in my Father's name. Not that my Father's name is my name. So it's not the same thing. So this would show that Yahusha, who is the word of Yahuwah, has to be Yahuwah, because the word of Yahuwah is being called Yahuwah's name. And it's saying that those that bring his name, Dabar Yahuwah, to nothing will not be held guiltless if they swear by his name in vain. So, and the reason it says swear by his name in vain, they understood that bringing his name to vanity in a Hebraic concept was you were polluting his name. To bring his name to vanity, it also include breaking an oath in his name. So, anyway, that's why it paraphrases it like that. It says, whoever swears by his name in vanity.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just saying it brings his name in vain. You know, because we've lost the understanding of what it means to bring his name to nothing.
Yes, that's true.
Or vanity. So we've lost and that's where the Targums come in handy too. Sometimes they paraphrase and give you a thought for thought of what a word means. Like bring his name to nothing. What is the application of that? Swearing by his name falsely is bring his name to nothing in that type of context. So let's see here. I think the next one we would have is from Deuteronomy. I'm trying to do it I'm going to definitely have to rework this document because it's not in order. Definitely going to have to fix it before I link it to today's study. All right, let's see here. I think Deuteronomy 1 is the earliest, okay, of Deuteronomy. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy 1, verse 10, from the Targum Pseudo-Jonathan again. So, and again, guys, just a little history on the Targums. They were Aramaic paraphrases orally passed down of the Torah. Aramaic, like basically oral translations, oral interpretive translations of the Torah passed down from post-Babylonian captivity. So the legend is that some even believe that Ezra and Nehemiah, when they came back from Babylon, that they started passing down these oral interpretations of the Torah to help the people when the Torah would be read in the synagogues later in the 1st century, you would have a public interpreter that would speak in Aramaic, the common language of the people, that would translate it orally in Aramaic for people to understand what's being read in the Torah. So that's the supposable origin of these Aramaic targums, which targums just a fancy word for translation. Aramaic targums of the Torah. So yeah. So chapter 1 verse 10 says here, Deuteronomy 1:10. This is from the pseudo Jonathan. The word of YHUH, Dabar YHUH, our Aluah, has multiplied you, and behold, you are today as the stars of heaven for a multitude. So I don't know if you guys are noticing something here, but constantly they're paraphrasing YHUH as Dabar YHUH, as the word of YHUH. So, mind you, this is pre-New Testament context. This is way before Yahusha came to earth.
Oh, yeah.
Way before John 1:1 is written. And a lot of people, like I said, will try to say to you, oh, John 1:1 was a new concept. Not really. Not really, when you got guys from the intertestamental time period writing these targums, or not writing, because technically they weren't allowed to write them down until like the 1st, 2nd century, but they were orally passing these targums down and had the same concept John had. This is not a new concept. So when someone says, oh, well, how can you prove it from the Old Testament? You can surely go to an Aramaic Targum, which, by the way, for those that don't know, these Targums are used in certain Jewish communities to this day. These Targums, I think the Onkelos is used in the, let me just look that up on the back here. He gives a little excerpt here. They are used in the, what's their name? Yemenite. So the Yahudim in Yemen today still use the Targum Onkelos as their liturgy, as their liturgical services. So anyway. Okay. We did 1 verse 10, right? 1 verse 26. Okay, so what's interesting, it says here, chapter 1 verse 26, but you are not willing to go up, but believe the words of the 10 wicked ones. So I guess those are 10. I wonder if this is talking about, would this be talking about the Korah rebellion? Or I wonder what that's referring to. But anyway, it says, and rebelled against Dabar YHUH your Elohim. So yours, Mom, would probably say YHUH your Elohim, right?
No, it says the word.
In
the Septuagint.
Interesting.
I went back to the Septuagint.
Interesting. So it said it's calling the word of YHUH their Elohim also in the Septuagint. Interesting. I wonder if the Masoretic does that.
No, I don't think so. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. It wouldn't want to do that. They wouldn't want to do that. Because then that would contradict their whole belief system. They would not want to leave that in there. Because then you have the problem in modern Judaism then, oh, well, if he is his word and the word is a person and the word of YHUH is their mighty one, how can it just be utterance? And that would completely debunk their theology. Are you sure you're reading from the Septuagint that it says that?
Yeah, I have it right
Because
here.
it says in the Bretons that you rebelled against the words of YHUH, your Elohim.
Hold on, I'll get back to it. Okay, it was
Okay.
one. What was the verse number?
Deuteronomy 1:26.
Okay, give me 1 second. It says, and you did not want to go up, and you disobeyed the word of YHUH our Aluah.
Interesting. So certain translations add s at the end. I wonder for the Greek of the word. So rhema is what is translated into English as word. Now I'm trying to see if there's any plurality here that would make them want to do that. Because once you put the s there, people will say, oh, it's just talking about YHUH's utterance. or they'll read it differently by adding the S at the end. Yeah, and of course you got stupid Strong's. This proves that Strong's is James Strong is influenced by Judaism. Okay, because he is mind you, this is Greek. This is not Hebrew. Okay, and he's saying that Rhema from the root G4483 just means an utterance. How is that if you're going from the Septuagint in the Strongs? It would not be equivalent to the Hebrew word. So how that's a little sketchy. Okay, that's why I say it's important to understand that this is mainly from what I've researched, it's a Judaism belief system. That every time you see Dabar YHUH, it's like utterance. That's a Judaism belief system. And clearly that's not what the Targums would believe either, because they actually capitalize the word. So again, they're referring to Dabar YHUH as a person, not utterance. So again, this is where you got to be careful with translations. So Breton is whether intentionally or unintentionally by adding the S there, he's following kind of a Jewish mindset of the way the verse should be rendered. So because they would just say with the word S at the end of the word, the way that's translated, they would say, oh, that's just talking about his commandments. They would say, oh, they rebelled against the words of YHUH, our Elohim. You see? Like the way it's worded with that S at the end, it changes. It changes things. So you got to be careful too with the English. All right, so let's see here. We did that. Chapter 1, verse 30. So only a couple verses later. Now, there's no ambiguity here. Right here, it starts off by saying, Dabar YHUH, your Aluah, who goes before you, will himself fight for you, according to all that he did for you in Mitzrayim before your eyes. So again, we have Yahusha being referred to the one, not as the one that's going before them. That's going to kill the giants. Now, the traditional rendering here by the Septuagint and Masoretic just says YHUH, your Elohim. So it's not that there's a difference here. It's that they're paraphrasing, understanding the thought for thought of YHUH, your Aluah, was always understood that this includes Dabar YHUH, that Dabar YHUH is YHUH. So that's why they're rendering verse 30 as the word of YHUH, your Elohim. They're understanding that YHUH is the word of YHUH. Again, John 1:1. Okay. So this is important to understand here. So, and I think the last one we have in chapter 1 here is chapter 1, continuing down here to verse 32. So it says, but in this thing you believed not in the word of YHUH, your Elohim. So again, Dabar YHUH, your Elohim. Okay, so again, the reason it's important to know about these versions of the Torah is that, again, this goes way before the New Testament. Way before. So we can't, those that want to claim that this was a Christian thing, you can easily show to them, no, it's not. Because this was way before Christianity. Like I said before, a couple centuries before the Catholic Church even existed. The earliest Targum, like the Onkelos, goes back about 100 to 120 AD. So you're talking about almost 200-300 years beforehand. So let me see here. Chapter 2, verse 7 in the Pseudo-Jonathan Targum. Okay. Be careful that you vex them not, for YHUH your Aluah has baruched you in all the works of your hands. He has supplied your wants in your journey in the great wilderness. These 40 years has the word of YHUH, your Aluah, been your helper. You have not wanted anything. Now, what's interesting too, right? A couple of cross references ago, the Dabar YHUH calls himself YHUH, their helper. Now it's saying that the word of Yahuwah is their helper. So let's see here. Chapter 3, verse 22. Okay. Fear them not. So chapter 3, verse 22 in the Pseudo-Jonathan Targum. For the word of Yahuwah, your Aluah, fights for you. This proves what we've always understood as believing in the New Testament, being followers of Yahusha, believers of Yahuwah, of Yahusha, that Yahusha was the one killing these giants. He was the one destroying these Nephilim. I forget, I think it was Michael Heiser that might have coined the phrase, destroyer of the mighty ones. That's basically what he is.
Yeah.
He destroys the gods of the nations.
Yeah.
The gods of the Gentiles. He's the judge of the gods of the Gentiles even. If he's the father, that means he's the one in Psalms 82 saying he judges in the midst of the mighty ones. So let's see here. Deuteronomy 5:24-25, again in the Pseudo-Jonathan Targum, and said, Behold, the word of Yahuwah, Dabar Yahuwah, our Aluah, has shown us his esteemed presence and greatness of his excellency. The voice of his word. So again, his word can't be his voice if it's saying the voice of his word. The word has to be a person. Have we heard out of the midst? Oh, this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the first instance I've ever seen in the Torah about the Ruach HaKodesh. This is interesting. It says, we have heard him, meaning the Dabar Yahuwah, in the midst of the fire. This day have we seen that Yahuwah speaks with man, in whom is the Ruach HaKodesh, and he remains alive. Interesting. So I think that's the first time I've ever seen a version of Deuteronomy that mentions his set-apart spirit that early on. That's kind of interesting. So it definitely shows this idea of Yahuwah's Ruach being imparted to his people was very early on. Like the phrase of the Ruach HaKodesh, I'm not saying that his spirit isn't mentioned beforehand. Obviously, we see that in Genesis, but I'm saying like as far as it being literally Ruach HaKodesh as its name. So let's see here. Okay, so I think we also have here verse 25 continues on to say, but now why should we die? For this great fire will devour us if we again hear the voice of Dabar Yahuwah our Aluah, we shall die. So again, Dabar Yahuwah is their Aluah. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here that we have so far. I just want to go into chapter 6 just to see if I missed anything. Okay. Just give me a second, guys. I'm just going to proofread real quick. Make sure. Interesting. This is kind of honorable mention here. And I might add this to the document here. Deuteronomy 6, verse 13. But fear Yahuwah your Aluah, and worship before him, and swear by the name of Dabar Yahuwah in truth. So again, if Dabar Yahuwah, the word of Yahuwah, is not Yahuwah, why would you be swearing by the name of the word of Yahuwah when taking an oath to the Father? Why would that make any sense? So again, like certain verses like this clearly show this was in their belief system. This is very early on that the word of Yahuwah was Yahuwah. Same person. So let me see here. Here we go. Verse 22, I think, might be the last instance here we have in Deuteronomy here that I remember. And verse 22 here, the word of YHUH brought us out of Egypt. Interesting. I might go to Jude after this to show the connection here that possibly Jude might have been aware of these targums. With a mighty hand, Dabar YHUH worked signs, great wonders, and sore plagues on the Egyptians and on Pharaoh, all men of his house, which our eyes beheld. So it's saying that the word of YHUH did all these things. So this is interesting. Now, I do want to go to Jude, and I think you guys know where I'm going to go here in Jude. It's a famous verse that everyone gets confused by because a lot of the Greek New Testaments will say the Lord or the Master, and people will, they'll try to wiggle their way around it and say, well, the Master could be the Son or the Father. So I'm gonna use the Vulgate real quick and show you guys something. Now, the claim is that originally it would say Yahusha here in this verse before these other more modern Greek manuscripts came out. That was the claim. So there's actually a discrepancy between the manuscripts in this verse, where I prefer the Vulgate how it reads here. So it says here, so I want to caution you, those who once knew everything that Yahusha did in saving the people from the land of Egypt, afterwards perished because they did not believe. So your modern versions would say the Master, YHUH. Some versions translated as YHUH because the modern English has the Lord there for Kurios. So a lot of these modern translations, they'll assume that it's just talking about the Father. It's not talking about Yahusha.
Verse 17, is that where you
No,
are?
Jude 1:5.
Oh, 1:5.
You probably have a footnote that says certain manuscripts have Yahusha.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
if you actually go to like the New Heart English Bible here, where it says the Master, okay, so certain manuscripts like the NU, whatever that is, reads Yahusha. So certain Greek manuscripts, along with the Vulgate, say Yahusha. So, which would connect what we're talking about today with the Targums, right? How in Deuteronomy 6:24 it says that the word of YHUH, Dabar YHUH, took them out of Egypt. So this is a big deal here. This is showing that these authors of the Brit Hadashah, they understood. Yeah, sure, definitely, bro. I'll definitely do that. So Deuteronomy 6:22 here in the Pseudo-Jonathan Targum directly correlates with the Vulgate of Jude 1:5. Clearly, the authors of the Brit Hadashah, for all our viewers and listeners, clearly the authors of the Brit Hadashah were familiar with these Aramaic Targums. The authors of the Brit knew about the Targums. They're using language that's right in the Targum. That the word of YHUH saved them out of Egypt. You go to Jude 1:5 in the Latin Vulgate. All the things Yahusha did, saving them out of Egypt. So it's like that. Jude and John are not like making these things out of thin air. They're just not. They have a Hebraic righteous understanding of YHUH's original word, the original Paleo Hebrew scriptures. So what's important to understand too is the Targums were orally passed down, maybe not written, but were orally passed down not too far removed from the original scriptures. Because if you really think about it, right, say that the legend is true, right, that even some in Judaism claim that Ezra and Nehemiah were helping people when they were at the podium and they were preaching at the podium, when they were back in the land, and you had someone orally translate what was being read from the scroll, orally translate for the audience to understand in Aramaic. You're talking about 400 BC. They would have been orally passed down, which is actually 100 years before the Septuagint. So the Septuagint and the Targums were written very closely in a familiar time period, in the intertestamental time period. So this is why you'll see similarities with the Septuagint and the Targums, because they were written around the same. Well, one was written around that time, one was orally passed down at that time, but they were coming out at the same time, these translations. Now, fast forward 1,000 years, that's where you have your Masoretic text translations. Bibles of the Masoretic text, I should say. Masoretic text was basically Judaism's answer to the Septuagint and to previous texts that promoted YHUH. I mean, if you really look it up for yourselves, all these rabbis made it very clear. Okay, we got to fix the Septuagint. We think there's errors because they didn't like all the messianic prophecies in it, pointed to YHUH. They were making excuses like, okay, we got to fix these errors. But my question to you is, and I propose to some of the brothers and sisters in this walk, I'm talking about Nazarene out there, real brothers and sisters in YHUH in this walk. What if, just what if, they weren't trying to fix things? They were trying to hide him. What if the Mazarites, and I know this sounds harsh, were inspired by the wicked one?
Yeah.
And the wicked one doesn't want people coming to salvation.
That's right.
Just what if? Because why is all these other manuscripts more pro YHUH than the Masoretic text?
Yeah.
Got to ask yourself, why is the Hebrew that Jerome used to make the Latin Vulgate more pro YHUH when the Hebrew he used was not even the original? He used the rumor about the Latin Vulgate is what Jerome used was like actual modern copy. It was a modern 1st, 2nd century Hebrew copy. So even when you go to the time of the Vulgate in 300 AD, the messianic prophecies, not all of them were corrupted yet. So obviously the Masoretes had some nefarious intentions. And I shared with our group earlier this week on Telegram, there's certain aspects in the Masoretic text that are Talmudic, that are straight from the Talmud. You know, we did a study, and if you guys are interested, I could leave the link for it. The Masoretic text intentionally on purpose in the book of Job tries to make you think Leviathan is Satan, or that Leviathan is some king of the wicked. That's literally how it reads in Job. It says in the Masoretic, it says he's the king of all the proud. But yet the Septuagint says he's the king of all that are in the ocean. Why a change there? But then when you go to the Talmud or you go to the Zohar, oh, they think Leviathan was a fallen angel of the sea. Ha! That's nowhere in Scripture, but yet it's in their Zohar. So it's important, guys, to understand history matters. Manuscripts matter, and it's important because this Targum thing, a lot of people want to discount it because of the commentary. I pray that YHUH guides you guys today to just overlook the commentary, not worry so much about the commentary, but worry about the actual scripture that's in it, that is showing you that this oneness belief system was a core theological truth that even the rabbis of the 1st century understood. You know, even they understood. And this is why YHUH came on the earth in the New Testament time period. And he said everything he said in the historical context of the Torahs they had in their old oral tradition lined up with what he said, who he was claiming to be. And that's why they wanted to stone him. They even say it. We don't stone you for good work. We stone you because you, as a mortal man, Make yourself Elohim. Why do you think they said that? Because the word of Yahuwah, the coming Messiah, in their Targums was the creator in human flesh, or supposed to be the creator in human flesh. This was a universal accepted idea of who the Messiah was supposed to be. You don't get an idea of a mortal man, just right person at the right time Messiah, or like a political leader Messiah like they teach today. You don't get that until like the 10th century AD. That wasn't their belief system back then. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of what's taught in Judaism today, the early scribes would not even adhere to. All these traditions about what the Messiah is supposed to be, that he's supposed to be a mortal man, just a mortal man, and nothing special, that he's just supposed to be a prophet. That is a modern interpretation of rabbinical Judaism. And even the people that founded their religion, that earlier on it was called Phariseeism, Sadduceeism, and all that, the Pharisees and Sadducees would have never, either group would have never thought of the Messiah, or anyone at the time of Messiah would never thought of the Messiah as a normal mortal man. The reason they're trying to stone him is because he's claiming to be that Son of Man character. He's claiming to be the rider, the cloud rider in Daniel 7. He's claiming to be the creator in human flesh, and they know it. And that's what's making them mad, because they don't accept him as that. The devil was filling their heart with pridefulness and basically, they were so steeped in their traditions of what the Messiah was supposed to be, that he was supposed to kill the Romans right away, that he was supposed to free them from the Romans, and this and that. They were so hooked up on their own Talmud and oral tradition that the Dabar Yahuwah was standing right in their face in human form, and they missed it. And I believe that's why Yahusha prayed the prayer. I know a lot of people think that's supposed to be ecumenical and universal. I disagree. When he says, forgive them, Father, they don't know what they do, he's talking about his own people. He's talking about his own people. He's talking about Israel.
Yeah.
He's not talking about the whole world. And a lot of people use that as the wicked in general, and no, it's not who he was talking about. Think about it. Think about the context, right? He's being put to death by his own physical brothers. He's being put to death by Yahudim, real Yahudim, not the Ashkenazis, real Yahudim. Okay? And you got these crowds that are being deceived by the Pharisees and the Sadducees. So when he's saying that prayer to the Father, forgive them for they don't know what they do, he's clearly talking about those crowds. He's clearly talking about Yahuwah's elect. He's clearly talking about Yasharel, natural and wild. He is not talking about the whole world. So when you understand it in that context, it makes a lot more sense. And it makes sense why they're like, to me, the Targums historically make sense why he said what he said in the New Testament, why he said it, why he was using this terminology, the Son of Man, why he was talking about riding in the clouds. Why did he say that? Because in their Targums, in the book of Enoch, all this stuff that's in their culture, you can argue or not whether it's inspired or not, but you can't take away from the fact that what he said in the New Testament, who he was claiming to be, matches up with the idea of who the coming Messiah was in the Targums, in the book of Enoch. And he was making it very clear who he was. And so when we say that he wasn't claiming to be the Father, we're unintentionally making him a liar. Okay? Because he was saying that stuff on purpose. He was saying, before Abraham was I am. If you are not Yahuwah, you can't claim to say that. You can't. That would be blasphemy. You can't do that. I can't claim that before Abraham that I existed. I can't claim that. None of us can. So it's this topic, a lot of people want to overlook this topic, but it's an important topic. This either you believe what Yahusha said or you don't. It's one or the other. There's no in between. Either you believe what he said is factual and he is who he said he was, and the Pharisees were being deceived by the devil, or if you think he didn't claim to be Yahuwah, then you have to agree with the Pharisees. It's like there's no in between. There's no if you because ultimately there's only one way to interpret what he was saying. Half of the time what he was saying was very literal, very intentional, claiming to be the Father. So, I mean, there's so many other verses we could go into. We don't even have time today, but John 14:9. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. That's not spiritual. He's not talking about the character. He's talking about literally. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. None of us men can claim that. None of us men can claim that. Us normal mortal men can claim that. Only he could claim that. So anyway, guys, hopefully this was edifying. Hopefully this was a baraka, and please share this with people that are still struggling with this concept. Please share this with them, and if they want to, reach out and chat with me, I have no problem with that. Just tell them to reach out to me here on this ministry page. I'm usually looking at my comments regularly, and I also have all my socials linked up. So anyway, have a great rest of your day, brothers and sisters in Yahuwah and Yahusha. Shabbat Shalom. And Yahuwah willing, see you next time. All right. There we go. Good.